What's up, guys? Today I'm gonna be doing a full review of my Grail watch that I purchased just over a month ago. And as you have seen, if you've seen the unboxing, you would have seen my aesthetic first impressions, considering it has been my Grail watch for about 7, 8 years now. So I've lived with this watch for about a month now, and I thought I'll just do a full review on it and give you my thoughts. See if there's anything new that I can add to this already very well reviewed watch. So, like I said, it has been my Grail watch for a long time now, and I just recently put it on this Dan's weight strap. So, yeah, before we get started, watch of the day Titan Edge ceramic 4.4 mm thin, thick, whatever you want to call it. Very impressive. An Indian watch. So, yeah, let's get into it. Uh, let's start with the start of the show, right? Let's start with the dial. The dial here, to nobody's surprise, is extremely beautiful. Dare I say it's peaceful? It's a very peaceful dial. Uh, however, looking at videos and photos, yeah, it doesn't do it justice, no doubt here. But at the same time, looking at the videos and photos, you would think it is a bit more prominent, the texture, the snowflake texture on it. However, in real life, it is a very subtle texture and it doesn't exactly pop out as much as you would imagine. It's not very, it's a very understated watch. And the most flashy and dare I say my favorite feature of this watch, and I mean, it has been my favorite feature, and I never actually realized it until I lived with it, are the applied indices here, which are Zaratsu polished, of course, and these indices as well as the logo and the indices applied in the power reserve section as well. The Grand Seiko logo here, let me see if I can actually zoom in more. Yeah, it appears to be floating above the dial, and the text is done really well, as you can see. It really pops. So are the markers that are there throughout, including the spring drive text and Japan text. They are very uh, meticulously and applied, and it's done to a very perfect manner. So this is by far the best thing on this watch because the way it catches the light and the way it plays with it is just something else. No video, no photo is gonna do any kind of justice to it. You can only appreciate it when you see it in real life. Following that, I love the blue seconds hand. Apparently, there's just a single person that does it on the Grand Seiko in the Grand Seiko factory, and all the blued hands, whether it be seconds or anything else, are tempered blued and are done by one person in the factory, and it is done by site, which is absolutely incredible. Uh, the seconds hand is also more thinner than you would expect. Again, very impressive here. It is also worth noting that there is no lume anywhere on this dial, and the hands are capped off by a very small cap, I suppose. I don't know what you would call that, as you can see on top of the second hand. So, yeah, great attention to detail here. The hour and minutes hand, as you can see, again, are Zaratsu polished to perfection. These are razor sharp hands and they look like swords. Let's be more appropriate with Japanese katanas, let's say. I wear some white gold jewelry and platinum, but yeah, none of this comes close to matching the way this shines. Of course, this is again just done by hand. It just makes it more impressive. At a macro level, let's see how much of a justice my iPhone camera can do to this. The dial looks like a snowy landscape, almost like a helicopter shot from up above, as you can see. You may also say that it kind of looks like washi or rice paper, which is some kind of a Japanese paper. Pardon, because I'm not really familiar with the importance of it. The blue second sand provides a much needed contrast to the otherwise monotonous. dial here. It looks very peaceful. It looks like there are no text, no pitches or something. I'll cover that in the spring drive section, that is the movement section. But I feel like it's a very peaceful thing to look at. I mean, there have been times I've just sat and just looked at the watch, just impressed by the you know seconds hand just floating up above. Uh, it's like how time is, right? There are no breaks and it just flows. Other than that, I like that there isn't much text on the dial, just the GS font applied, Grand Seiko, and Spring Drive in Japan written, and no clutter on the dial whatsoever. It's very clear. What else? I like that. I mean, there was a previous version of this watch, which was the SBGA211, that had the Seiko applied logo with the GS at the bottom. I like this style better, but I can see people liking that more as well. The reason I like it is because of the clutter, which has been reduced significantly due to the less amount of text here. Also, something I really like on this watch is that the inside bezel of this area, it's also Zaratsu polished, and it reflects the indices very well. Some of the other Grand Seiko models that have subsequently come out have a chapter ring, which looks like a plastic chapter ring and just looks cheap to me, to my eyes. I much prefer this approach. Of course, Zaratsu being distortion free, it's absolutely very very clear, as you can see on the camera. Other than that, the date window is also framed with a Zaratsu polished border here. And one thing I really like about the date is that the single digit numerals are also expanded to fill the entire this thing area. That is the date area, so it doesn't look like it is out of place or anything like that. Last but not the least, the power reserve indicator. A lot of people say they don't like it. I quite like it. It's not very visible here, but it has a subtle sunburst effect, which is visible only in daylight. It looks like a tire track here on the snow-laden surface. I can imagine an A86 drifting throughout the snow-laden landscape and leaving those tire trails. Something which I really find to be a little, odd, took me a bit of time rather, is that when you wind it completely, the power reserve indicator goes down rather than up. As you can see, the power reserve here is wider, indicating that full power, and when it is up, it is you know low. So it just looks like it's the opposite of what I would think, being that full being up and less being down. But yeah, you get used to it. Also, kind of triggers the petrol head in me. Looks like a fuel gauge. And as the dial is very white, in real life it kind of comes off a bit almost translucent and absorbs light better than other white dials. Uh, just to compare, here is my other white watch. So as you can see, this absorbs a bit more ambient light, looking more yellowish, whereas this is more polar white. So yeah, that is a difference worth noting. Significantly higher quality finishing on this. And all this is underneath a dual dome sapphire crystal, which Grand Seiko says has their high definition anti reflective coating on the underside, specifically so that you don't scratch it off the top. And it genuinely appears as though there is no crystal at times, as you can see here. It's really impressive what they have done. I really like the minimal nature, the restrained nature of the watch as such. Coming to the moment, the SPGA211 or the Snowflake is powered by the 9R65 spring drive moment. I'm not going to go into the details, but yeah, it is essentially the best of both worlds, perhaps the pinnacle of moments. And as you can see, the sweeping seconds hand is a result of that. It's just purely perfection. This moment features a 72-hour power reserve, that is 3 days. In the time I've owned it, I've let it die twice. I've gotten a power reserve of 75 24 hours, 75 hours, 24 minutes, pardon me. the first time, the second time 26 hours 24 minutes, and with the deviation of absolutely nothing. In the entire time it has been running, the deviation is at 0 seconds. As a matter of fact, let me just bring out my other phone and, you know, compare this to show. As you can see, it's just spot on. Outside of that, the movement is really well decorated. As you can see, I'm just hiding the serial number because I don't want to encourage fakes. Yeah, it's a 30 jewel movement and really well decorated with the Grand Seiko text here. There's also a hologram here, as you can see. Uh, this movement, it's a groundbreaking movement, is what it is, and that it is far less susceptible to magnetism. Perhaps completely anti-magnetic. I'm not really sure on that. I like the decoration done on the moment because some of the other Grand Seikos have that lion done in a golden fashion, which kind of just obscures the case back, and I really like it. Uh, the only negative I would say with regard to the moment is that when the date starts changing to the next day, it starts from about 11 o'clock, and the transition is not really aesthetically pleasing. I would want more from a watch that costs this much. Perhaps a quick set date would have been a much better, thing. I'm not sure if the newer spring drive moments have it. Regardless, there's something to note. Now, coming to the case is made of what Grand Seiko calls high intensity titanium, which I would assume is an alloy very close to grade 5 titanium. And with all the links on the bracelet, weighs just 100 grams. I mean, just putting it on the strap makes it looks like a significantly thicker and substantial watch, kind of like a Aquaterra or something like that, a sports watch, so to speak. And it just doesn't weigh anything. I mean, it's very comfortable. I really love titanium, and it's something uh, I've come to appreciate the more I've worn it, because I've worn it for 2, 3, 4 days straight, and there has been no wrist fatigue whatsoever. Of course, being titanium, it is also hypoallergenic, so you are not going to have any kind of allergic reactions, say to zinc or anything which is present in 904 stainless steel, or even I think 916 in small quantities. About the finishing as such, it is polished sides here. They're also polished, of course, and they're also polished bezel with brushed sides. There is also a transition contour, which is also Zaratsu polished. They're also polished here as well. Absolutely distortion free, as you can see. The crown is very nice. The knurling is done very nicely, and it's a bead blasted finish in between, and GS and this ring is polished. Apparently, even to achieve this brushed finish, they also polish this first, and then they actually brush it with some kind of a specific brush or whatever. Everything on this watch, including the movement, decoration, assembly, and the case finishing, the dial finishing, is done by hand, which is absolutely mind blowing, and it blows anything out of the water as far as this thing goes, quality goes. It punches way, way above its weight. Although I must admit that to my untrained eye, Zaratsu polish is excellent, sure, but does it really? I mean, can you really differentiate between something which is polished nicely? I mean, not to my untrained eye. The only way I can actually see Zaratsu polishing making a difference is with the indices and the hands. I realize it's just my untrained eye. So if you appreciate the details, then sure, you're gonna appreciate it more. The case otherwise is a 41 case with 12.5 thickness. The lug to lug, there's around 48 which you would think is substantial. And but the thing is, the way the case is shaped, downward sloping, it fits far more. wrists than you may imagine. It's a 41 dial, as I mentioned, but even on my 6.5, 6.75 inches wrist, it fits perfectly well. So rather than just going by the, uh, you know, dimensions and specifications, one should actually try this on at stores. Otherwise, it's very hard to judge it. And even when it comes to the thickness, as you can see, it just sits very low to my wrist. So it's kind of like a sports card. So while it might be thick, it does not feel as such. It feels like a 39 watch with very good specs. It just wears fantastically. I don't know how else to put it. Of course, coming to this crown, like I mentioned, the finishing is good. It's a screw down crown, and the water resistance on this watch is 100 meters, which I don't think I'm gonna take this thing anywhere near the water. It straddles a fine line between dress and sports watch. I guess you could call it an everyday watch. The only downside I can think of is, oh yeah, another thing to mention is that this has drill lugs, so making it easy to switch out straps. And yeah, it has a very divisive winding action. I really love the screw down crown as well. So I'm not sure how well this comes off, but yeah, as you can see, the stem is also protected by a tube here. So this also looks to be Zaratsu polished, maybe. You can never know with these guys. But yeah, one of my friends who owns a Speedmaster actually loves the winding action. Some people don't really like it. And being titanium, as you can see, it has a darker sheen to it as compared to stainless steel. Although not very noticeable, I would say, but it's certainly there. And I kind of like it because it is something that looks like, cloudy, snowy day. Kind of goes with the aesthetic. A downside of having Zaratsu polish is that it will scratch for sure. I've been babying it. I still have a few micro scratches here and there on the bezel. I suppose it is inevitable with any watch. So keep that in mind that it cannot remain pristine if you wear it. But it is also a fingerprint magnet. But at the end of the day, if you like it, you are buying it to wear it. You're not buying it to just keep it inside a show case or something like that. Now, coming to the bracelet, I find it very hard to, find good straps for this because the watch is so elegant. The bracelet needs to match that level of elegance, and not many bracelets do that. Sorry, I mean straps. However, this strap in particular, stands weight, looks really nice on this watch. I think it elevates it. Outside of that, coming to the bracelet, this is what it is sized to for my wrist. Now, people really hate this bracelet. I can think of one downside here. I like the clasp. I don't really like this thing here. The way it just stands here. It's just probably to avoid the scratch here. And with use, yeah, these things are inevitable. So that's fine. It has no micro adjust, so that is one thing. Outside of that, it's a 5 link bracelet. Again, titanium's signature color. It's just in the style of the old Speedmaster bracelet. Of course, double push button deployment clasp here. Very satisfying here. And coming to the coming to the links here, the center link has two polished edges here, and a very nice attention to detail is that it's kind of polished here, not exactly, but in the corner, it just transitions very well to the brass sides. I really like how comfortable and light it is, being titanium. It is nowhere near as stiff as Swiss bracelets are. So if you're uh, you know interested in that hard consistency that is perfect every time, this is not that. This is quite a bit flexible. It is made for you to be comfortable for your wrist. And people complain that they don't really find a proper fit with this bracelet. I can see that being an issue. Took me 3 tries to get the perfect fit here. They give you a half link as well. So I am using one. And I think if you have time and patience, you can get a perfect fit for any wrist. Of course, it might be a controversial opinion, but that is that. Personally, I of course the bracelet would benefit with a micro adjust, but outside of that, I really like it, and I think the watch is meant to be on the bracelet. Anyway, moving on to the next section, I've covered the packaging in the you know uh, unboxing video. I really like how they give a watch roll now rather than just a stupid giant box that has no use for it. What ultimately, I think technically I've covered everything, but in my opinion, what ultimately sets the Snowflake apart from its Swiss competitors is not the dial. I mean, sure it does, but yeah, the dial, the movement, the finishing are all standouts at this price range. Yes, it punches way above its weight. But what I think truly sets it apart is the philosophy behind its creation. In my opinion, Swiss watchmaking is focused on engineering perfection and precision. Like I mentioned with the bracelet, it is like completely, you know, perfectly done on Rolex, on Omega. But when it comes to Grand Seiko, the main thing I really like about it is how perfect it is. And this perfection is not achieved by any kind of machinery. It's achieved by people, by following their traditions, and yes, by innovating on watchmaking in general. So I really like everything about this watch, the people, the tradition behind it, the idea behind it. Oh yeah, Zaratsu polishing having its other name, black polishing, because when it stares into the abyss, it stares back, and as you can see, complete darkness. Again, complete light. So it just shows you uh, what you are looking at. The snowflake just feels different on the wrist. I don't merely see it as a product. I see it as a cumulative effort of countless individuals over a long period of time, and each of them being responsible for one small piece that has gone into manufacturing this whole thing. I really, someone that polished the indices in this watch, this specific watch, until it was absolutely perfect. Someone polished the brush links here. Someone polished the case. Someone inspected everything on this watch before allowing it to leave the factory. I think it's just a great thing rather than just manufacturing it on a large scale, on a machine scale. Apparently, Grand Seiko produces about 35,000 watches a year. So, yeah, much more limited than your even Holy Trinity level watches. So, that is about it. I think I've covered everything about this um, watch in this review. I think at the current price, yeah, it used to be a steal. And at the current price, yes, it is no longer, it was never a cheap watch, but now it is very expensive, if you ask me. Of course, like I mentioned, there are places that can improve, perhaps a smaller case and the bracelet improvements I mentioned. But yeah, ultimately, this has been my Grail watch for a long time now. I'm glad I have it. I love this watch. It's a watch that punches way above its weight. I hope I could answer any kind of questions here. And I would conclude by saying that in an age where perfection is increasingly achieved through technology, Grand Seiko's greatest achievement, in my opinion, that is that its insistence on using people to produce a product at this level. Very impressed. This is something I'm gonna keep for my life. Sorry for the long video. Hope you watched the whole thing through. If you did, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching and peace out.